Next up is Mark Silber, IT Systems Architect at Qualcomm, to tell us about how his company put e-signature technology to use in his sales organization. Mark joined Qualcomm 4 years ago following a decade of work as a consultant working on customer service applications with large companies. At Qualcomm, Mark's duties involve the maintenance and deployment of various on-premise CRM implementations using Salesforce.com as the CRM platform. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you so much, Chris. So a little correction. My prior life involved on-premise applications. However, we're now pretty much all hosted or software as a service applications, including EchoSign. So what I wanted to do today is just spend a little bit of time talking about Qualcomm, a lot more time kind of talking about the pain and suffering we had in trying to get contracts signed, and then also talk a little bit about how EchoSign and Salesforce have worked together and what a great mashup and what great functionality we've achieved by that. So what I wanted to do, for those of you that haven't heard of Qualcomm, we do more than just have our name on a stadium. You know, we're a leader in digital wireless communication. We're a global company. And then a little bit about IT. So EchoSign certainly does not require IT involvement. So I play the role of system architect at Qualcomm. We have a lot of different things happening, but EchoSign itself is not a complicated application that requires IT involvement to implement or to get started. So I just wanted to make that clear as well. So Qualcomm is also made up of a number of divisions or business units, and so very diverse business units doing lots of different things. The one thing that we do have in common is that we're definitely a B2B company. So what I'm going to focus on today is a little bit about QES. So QES is one of our divisions that has a very traditional kind of sales cycle. They sell hardware, they sell services, they focus in a lot of different areas with an emphasis on transportation and logistics, although they're expanding into a lot of different areas. So they're definitely a very traditional kind of sales focused organization. And for any of the things that I talk about today, if you want to learn more about Qualcomm, feel free to just visit our website. It's www.qualcomm.com. So what was the challenge that QES had? So QES is one of our oldest divisions, about 20 years old, kind of does things like they always have. And one of their biggest challenges was, processing a lot of contracts and a lot of the things that Rock talked about today, things around, how do I manage a large volume of contracts? How do I do this with a very geographically dispersed team? It was a very, very, very manual process to get contracts signed. So I wanted to give you, a really simple example here, although I don't call it simple, and hopefully this rings a bell with some of you folks. So in the past, what would happen is our sales rep, would get the green light to go ahead and send a contract for signature. So what they do is they'd fill out their Word form, they'd attach it to an email, they'd send it to their customer. The customer would then, get the email, print it out, sign it, and then the things Rock talked about, whether or not it comes back is another story, but they'd sign it. They then would either themselves rescan it so they could email it back, or sign it, hand sign it, and fax it back. But what would happen is it comes back to the sales rep, who then needs to forward it to the contracts group, who then, guess what, prints it out again for another manual signature, and then ultimately scans it back a second time so that it can then be distributed to our contract management system. And the big issue there is that the document that originally started as a digital contract now turned into an image. So OCR is hard. We have to put it through a lot of different processes to try to get some text out of it so that it can be searchable in our contract management system. So it was a big, big nightmare. And then on top of that, that whole process just took forever. So I've obviously listed here 2+ weeks. The one thing that was hard to do was to get some really, truly accurate metrics around how long that process really took, because it was so manual. There was just no metrics to measure contract turnaround time, to understand where the bottlenecks were. It was just a very, very manual process. So what we did is a couple more things here about the impact. So again, I'm sure this rings true with a lot of you, it just delayed the entire cycle. So you've got the salesperson, they close the deal, now they just need that official piece of paper, and it just took forever. For us, it was very important because not only do we sell hardware, we also sell services. So the sooner we can ship hardware, the sooner the hardware gets installed, the sooner that services can be turned on, the sooner we can bill. So that's a big thing. So this process directly had an impact on our ability to collect revenue on these devices that we're selling. And then the other big issue was sales had no visibility. Again, Rock talked a lot about that. It's, where's my contract? I have no idea. So what that meant was that our salespeople were constantly emailing and calling the contracts group going, hey, what's the status? Is this countersigned? Did it happen to come back to you? Calling the customer, figuring out, did the customer even look at my contract? So that whole process was just a nightmare. So what we did is we actually discovered EchoSign. We implemented it very, very quickly. We did a very short pilot. We had some cultural changes to work through in our organization. But ultimately, we rolled it out to the entire sales organization, the entire contracts organization, and customer service. And for us, more important than just how easy EchoSign is to use, and it really is just as easy as sending a Gmail, for us, what happened was the tight integration with Salesforce gave all of our reps visibility into not only their account and all of the related pieces of information, but very quickly they could see all of the data that's displayed inside EchoSign displayed inside Salesforce. Did my customer look at the signature, or did my customer look at the document? When did they sign it? Did contracts countersign it yet? And then ultimately everybody got the email with the executed contract. So for us, at least 50% of that interaction is now gone, and it's probably even more than that. It's just an amazing transformation. And then ultimately, the second thing that we got was, because it was so tightly integrated with Salesforce, we were able to build additional workflows and kind of additional add-ons. So like Rock showed in version 4 of EchoSign, it defaulted the contract administrator or the countersigner. In our implementation, we have assigned contract administrators for different kinds of accounts. So when they go to send a signature or send a contract for signature, it's automatically kind of pulling in these account attributes right inside Salesforce, ultimately through EchoSign. And so no one has to do anything. It's just click, 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 send, and they're done. It's really been an amazing thing. And just so you know, this is a sample of some of the metrics that are available in Salesforce. These are not our metrics. We actually have seen some incredible results with EchoSign and Salesforce. And lastly, what I wanted to show was that we were able to, we recently won an award. We won an award for an implementation of EchoSign and with Salesforce, and to be honest, we didn't really have to do much to implement this. Like, it was a very, very simple tool, but it was very nice to be recognized as well. So I'm going to turn this back over to Chris.
Great, thanks, Mark. I appreciate that. Now, before we get to the audience's questions, I have a couple of questions for Mark and Rock to sort of bore in on the business benefits of e-signatures. Mark, can we talk about your business results now that you've automated the process of getting the contracts back? What kind of results are you seeing? You just pointed out that the dashboard was not representational, but if we were to peek at your dashboard, what would it show?
So I'm actually peeking at my dashboard now. So we've gone from an average turnaround time of over 2 weeks to an average of around 2 days for a fully executed contract. So an amazing amount of turnaround there.
Wow. Now Rock, it's clear that Qualcomm is getting a lot of benefit from using Salesforce as well. Can you tell us a bit more about your customer base? Is Qualcomm a typical size company for your product?
It is right in the middle, right? We've got some of those customers like British Telecom that are thousands of seats, and Qualcomm is in the middle, but we also have hundreds and hundreds of one-user customers out there that use it for their mom-and-pop shops. So it really is, if you've followed Salesforce and their success, it really is that democratization that lets everybody get the same capabilities. You don't have to be big to be able to benefit from it. It helps that Qualcomm has somebody like Mark in there because they get to take a lot more advantage of it because you've got some attention being paid to it. But if you don't want to pay any attention to it, you just want to have a Gmail-like contract send, you can do that as well.
Great. Now, with that, I'd like to throw the floor open to questions from our attendees. Remember, at the end of our event, we'll announce the winner of the Garmin navigation device. And for more information, or if you can't get to, or if we can't get to your question during the Q&A session, you can visit these websites or send us an email.